Hello, friends. Melton Guy here. I want to say a few things today, and before I get to it, let me take care of my usual business. I want to tell you once again about my book, The Offspring of Ignorance. You can find it on Amazon. I've been getting some feedback on it, and I've had several. Some say one said it was way too controversial for him or her. I think it was a her. Uh, Another says I didn't go into it deep enough because there were some things they wanted me to say that I didn't say. But mostly it was they were good remarks, good comments, and they all mentioned the idea that it was very controversial. And some even asked me if I was going to write another one, and I really don't know if I have it in me. But anyway, The Offspring of Ignorance, and you find it on Amazon. And I also like to promote my wife's book. Uh, is named Leaving Small Town. It's a very good book. She got a lot of good reviews on hers. Many people still ask her when she's going to write the second part to it. But by Sue Guy, also it can be found on Amazon. And now back to my idea of uh, reaching down, if you will, and hit the like button. And while you're doing it, if you will, hit that subscribe button. I didn't quite reach the goal that I wanted to the other day. And I almost wanted to tell you that the doctor told me if I didn't reach that by a certain time that it was going to affect my health. Well, it hasn't gotten that bad. And I decided to get some mentioning, although I did. But if you will, if you can, just hit the subscribe button. It costs you nothing. And I promise you I'll come back with new content, not new because we're all talking about the same thing right now, but a different idea, a different approach. And so hit the like button, subscribe, if you will, and also share. If you can share, that would be absolutely wonderful. Okay, that takes care of personal business. I also like to always throw out there my good friend, never met him, but I consider him a good friend, never talked to him, but Tennessee Brando. He's he's the one I go to find out at the earliest convenience what's going on. He's on top of things, but he's very good at what he does, and I recommend him highly. If you go listen to him, subscribe to his podcast. There are many out there. Brett and Ben Silas, Adam Mockery, Jesse Dollamore is one of my favorites. He does a good job, and Michael Popak, that's another one that's can tell you some things that you probably have heard. They'll tell you things in a way that that they're not hearing it from anywhere else. They're very good at what they do. But anyway, getting to today, and as someone said the other day, it is time to take the gloves off. I hear things that really bother me. The way, not the things, but necessarily, but the way things have been done. And I want first, if I want to start off with something, this is for the church, for the Christians, for the Bible thumpers, for the holier than thous and self-appointed judges and instruments of division and chaos. You get the idea that I'm a little disappointed in the church these days and Christians. I want you to hear these words. Now, as you hear these words, remember, I don't have to believe like you. I simply need to know the watered down theology that exists among you today. And I'll go as far as to say that watered down theology that has come about since 2016 when Donald Trump came on the scene. And some of you are gasping. Maybe you're turning me off at this time. Well, go ahead. If you refuse to listen, then you're wearing blinders. You're not willing to learn something new. You may be into this woke thing, which is one of the most ridiculous things that has ever come about. But I want you to hear these words. I hope you'll stay with me to hear these words. After all, it comes right out of your Bible, our Bible. I know you believe it in ways, a lot of you believe it in ways I do not believe. A lot of people believe the way I believe. But as I said, I don't have to believe the way you do. I just have to know how you believe. And I do. I was raised in the church. My father was a minister. I was a minister for years. So hear these words and imagine this idea. On a hill looking down, concerned about the state of affairs in Jerusalem, Jesus said this, O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, that killest the prophets and stone them which are sent to you. How often I wanted to gather your children together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and you were not willing. It is made to appear that Jesus is suffering here because Jerusalem has disappointed him. And I want you to imagine for just a moment how God is feeling about us right now. Imagine God on the hill and he sees Donald Trump and he sees the worshiping of this man. And that's what has been going on. He can do no wrong. No matter what he does, he's still in a race for the presidency. And all this could have been prevented. I'm not putting all the blame on the church, but the church got behind him in such a way in 2016, if they had not, they could have stopped this man in his tracks. But they would not. And I can just imagine God looking down. I can imagine him being proud of what's going on in this country today. Oh, I know you're going to say, well, what about abortion? What about, all this other thing? I'm not talking about those kind of things. Those are controversial things. I'm talking about the kind of theology that Jesus, your Jesus, presented to you. And this is not, the whole podcast today is not about your theology or your beliefs or how the churches have not upheld its duty as Christians. It's not about that. I just wanted to point out and ask you what you think. If God is sitting on a hill, of course he doesn't have to, but if he's sitting on a hill, imagine that, and he's looking down, and he sees the god-awful things that Donald Trump has done. I made a big deal about Don Quixote in my last podcast about he was attacking windmills because he thought they were giants attacking villages. Well, it's not about making a mountain out of a molehill. This is about endangering this country, endangering the lives of people by making up chaos that does not exist. The illegal immigrant situation, nothing like Donald Trump or MAGA presents it. And I get tired of it. It's almost like every crime that's committed. Yeah, some of them are committed by immigrants, illegal immigrants, legal immigrants, people like me, people like you. You have to come to a point and say, is it really that, or is it some kind of hatred for someone like me? Racism. This election coming up, I'm talking about the presidential election, talking about the senatorial election, talking about the House of Representatives, all these elections. This is not about Harris versus Trump. Or if you'd rather hear it the other way, it's not about Trump versus Harris. It's not even about the election anymore. It's not even about democracy anymore. This land on which we live, the soil, the earth on which we live in the United States of America will survive. I'm talking about the ground itself. It will survive. So no, none of this going on today is about any of the above. This election and what we do here is a referendum on a people, on American citizens. We'll know what we are November 6th or somewhere in that neighborhood of 2024. This is a referendum on people, not the democracy, not the country, not Republicans, not Democrats, but people. We have to stand up and take notice and ask ourselves, where are we going as a people? The world will know what we are very soon. And I'm asking you, what are you ready to destroy to feel like you're right? How far will your pride, misplaced as it may be, how far will it get you? We have a man here in North Carolina, sheriff of one of our counties. His name is Tommy Wooten. And as I mentioned him, I also mentioned Lauren Buckall. And I asked myself, we've got to find the difference between campaigning versus blatant lies. And sometimes I think it's okay, whichever one it is, according to the people. The truth is, the bill that he accuses one of our representatives, Don Davis, of voting no on is nothing like he described it. It was being the one addition to it that we were no longer going to allow political asylum in this country. And he's making it sound like that we were opening the borders to everybody. And it's a blatant lie. It's a misrepresentation to the point that it is a blatant lie. This is the high sheriff of one of our counties. And he calls out as something great for this state, Lauren Buckall. And in both of these people, as I look at them, the way they campaign, it's not a campaign of hope. It's a campaign of hate, anger. That's what I see in these people, anger. You can be angry, but offer me some hope along with it. Because when I see the kind of anger I see in these political ads, I see hate. North Carolina is better than High Sheriff Tommy Wooten, and certainly better than Lauren Buckall. For that matter, South Carolina is better than Lindsey Graham. Texas is better than Ted Cruz. Georgia is better than Marjorie Taylor Greene. Colorado is certainly better than Lauren Boebert. These and many others throughout this nation are destroying our nation from the inside out. When you are voting, early voting or waiting till November the 5th, when you are voting, be sure to vote for those that will help Kamala Harris, not tear her down. not defy every move she makes. That is your congressional elections. That is your senatorial election. Those votes are very close to being of the importance of the presidential votes. So when you go to vote, pay attention about who you're voting for those offices, because it's very important. And also keep in mind, and I'm throwing a lot of things out here, the idea that you've heard tossed around, and it needs to be more than tossed around, somebody needs to explain it. You can find it if you want to and read it, and I recommend that you read it well before the election. Project 2025. Read about the Heritage Foundation. I mentioned those names here before. I mentioned those names on many different occasions. In essence, that foundation and Project 2025, born out of that foundation, is a detailed program to autocracy, to a dictatorship, and to a fascist state, with the fascist Donald Trump at the head. And if he dies, the fascist vice presidential candidate, J.D. Vance. If you don't think that's what they have planned, you have not been paying attention. I look at Donald Trump and I say without hesitation, without apology, without fear of repercussions, with knowledge of the Bible, with knowledge of our Constitution, that I am a better person than Donald Trump. Maybe no one else, but I am definitely better than Donald Trump. If you look up and see Jesus returning for his own, who now think about it. Who do you want to be standing with? Donald John Trump? Or would you rather be standing there with me? I'm not pinning any flowers on myself. I'm just asking you the question. Knowing what Donald John Trump has done to this country and the way he feels and what he's going to do, with whom would you want to be standing? Pick out anybody else for that matter. Trump or whomever. And I'll say it again. And if you are a Trump supporter, you probably won't hear me again. But you travel that road. You close your mind. Ignore the signs. But consider this. If you want to know how this ends, if that fascist Donald John Trump wins this election, all you need to know, all you need to do is grab a history book that focuses in on Germany between the years of 1933 and 1945. And as you read that history, and I hope you will. I mean, some are saying we're making too much out of this thing about Hitler. Read the history. And as you read, see if you recognize anything familiar from the latest designs on America, from the Republican Party, specifically Donald Trump and MAGA. And keep in mind that Heritage Foundation, along with that foundation and Donald Trump's Project 2025. Yes, he knows all about it. He lied to you many times that he knows nothing about it. The receipts are there. The proof is there. He knows all about it. His plans are wrapped up in Project 2025, and you need to read it. And you need to read the history of Germany between 1933 and 1945. I'm telling you, it wasn't pretty there in the 1930s and 40s in Germany. It is not pretty in this country now. And it will not be pretty in 2025 and beyond should that fascist become president. And it's all up to us, Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, Independents, Liberals, Moderates, Conservatives, Christians, Jews, religious, non-religious, anybody I'm leaving out. It's up to us. Get out and cast your vote for the next president of the United States of America, Kamala Harris, to ensure our America exists in the near future and beyond. I've called out some names here today. But as I said, and others are saying, it's time to jump into the mud pit. We love Michelle Obama. And when they go low, we go high. Does not work right now. Not with this. We've got to come out swinging. We've got to be aggressive. And I think we have beaten this horse so many times after its death that this election is so important. Another thing that I want you to consider, if you can't do any of the other things I said, I want you to go to YouTube, and you can find them all over the place. Rallies, Donald Trump rallies. And see what is there. Huge Trump signs, along with huge Confederate signs, along with huge swastikas. What are we supposed to think? How do we decide how he's going to govern and MAGA is going to control this country with this kind of thing? And another thing, there are journalists out there going around to these rallies and they ask questions. And I want you to know, if you really want to be a part of these people, one was asked, they were complaining about DEIs. DEI, Trump talked about the DEI and how it's tearing this country apart. And they said, we just can't have it. And they said, well, tell me, what does DEI stand for? They had no idea. No idea. You know what it stands for? Diversity, equality, and inclusion. Who's against that? How is that destroying America? That's what we've always been about. Another question was asked, because Trump and MAGA supporters are always talking about the Democrats and aligning us up with Marxism. And asked this one gentleman, what is Marxism? And he said, well, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it's that the Democrats put a mark on you so they'll know you when they see you. And there were many other questions asked also. A lot easier than those that had just as many dumbass answers as those. If you're not doing anything about checking on your candidate, You check on Kamala Harris and you check on Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. And when you go to the polls, you look for Kamala Harris and you vote for her if you want this country. And you vote for those Democrats running for Congress and for the Senate. Am I saying it's always this way, that Democrats are better than the Republicans? No, never. I would never say that. I have voted Republican. There's not a Republican I would vote for. And I stand with Kamala Harris when she was asked, can you give me 3 virtues of Donald Trump? I can't do it. And I have always been the type of person that wants to see the good in someone. I cannot see the good in Donald Trump. I kind of feel sorry for him because he's certainly suffering from dementia right now. He's not himself. But that cannot be an excuse for our voting for him. We cannot vote out of pity. As I said before, this is not about democracy. This is not about our country. It's not about Democrats. It's not about Republicans. This is a referendum on people. And the world will know what kind of people we are after this election. Believe it or not, I love you all. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.